Chris Cox here. I've got a fantastic guitar lesson for you today. We're going to go back to Ozzy Osbourne's debut solo album, Blizzard of Oz, and do Crazy Train. So this is going to be part one of a two-part series. Part one is going to include all the rhythm guitars and the guitar fills. Part two will cover the guitar solo. So the tuning for this is standard tuning. Let's jump into that intro riff. Alright, so let's play through a little bit of that intro riff. Okay, so everything's going to be happening here on the low E and A string. Your first finger is pretty much going to be anchored around that second fret. So you're kind of coming back and forth, and then the movement's really occurring here down at the fourth and fifth fret of the A string. So we're doing this, 2 down strokes. Then we come to the fourth fret of the A, back to the second fret of the low E, to the fifth fret of the A, back to the second fret of the low E, back to that fourth fret again of the A, back to the second fret of the low E, and then we do this. And that's you're gonna shift from the second fret of the low E to having your first finger here on the B note, which is the second fret of the A, and you're doing this. That's going to be second of the A, 5 of the low E, 4 to the low E, back to the 5, back to the second, 5, 4, open. Let's just play that all slowly. That goes through, I believe, 4 times, but on the 4th time, there's the segue into the verse goes like this. So you kind of have to shift, well, I do anyway, I have to shift my finger up to grab that D chord. So you're coming here to the 4th fret of the A, to the 2nd fret of the A, and you're going to grab that one finger D5 chord there. So that's going to be an open, and if you wanted to grab that extra D note here on the B, you could, but you're going to play the open D string and the 2nd fret of the G. And then you're going to play this. So you're going to play that one finger E5 chord, which is the open E, and the 2nd fret of the A string, but down here we're going to have our ring finger on the 4th fret of the G, pinky finger is going to be on the 5th fret of the B, you're going to grab that chord right there, but now the D string is muted. So we have now on the studio version, Randy does a that little riff there to segue into the verse. That's just open E, 2nd fret of the low E, and then 4th fret, and then we'll talk about those chords and that riff in the verse in a second. On the live version, he more just sustains those chords. Okay, so I'm going to kind of talk about in that verse how Randy plays on the studio version versus the live version. So off the studio version, let's first go over the chords. So the first chord is going to be basically an A major. So we have, and it's going to be 7th fret of the D, 6th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B. And I'll talk about the rhythm that's coming out that's along with the chords here just in a second. So we do. Now here, this is basically a E major chord. So we have 4th fret of the D, 6th fret of the D, 4th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B string, and then we're adding that octave here on the 7th fret, and I'll talk about that in a second. So we have. Now we're going to shift this shape, this chord. This is the E major chord. We're just going to play it down here, same shape, but it's going to turn into a D major. So it's another way to play a D major. So you are going to have your ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string. 2nd fret is going to be the 1st finger of the G, and then 3rd finger is going to be 3rd fret of the B. So when we're also going to grab that octave down here on the 5th fret of the high E. So we have this. And we end on an A5, which is going to be open A, 2nd fret of the D and G. And then after we come out of that, so you're just playing that A, open E, 4th fret of the open of the E, and then back to the A. But you let all that ring. So it's okay. So now let's talk about, since we've got the chords, let's talk about what's happening on that A string. So off the studio version, there's like a 16th note pattern. So that's. So basically what you're doing is you're basically doing a down, up, down, up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're grabbing that A major, and then you're doing another 4. And Randy plays, sometimes he'll grab just the D, G, and B, but then every once in a while on these chords he'll grab that kind of treble part of the chord. So you have. So that's all that A string. He's basically doing those 16th notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now on the tribute versions, that's different. And I've noticed that just listening to Randy play this rhythm live, this may have been kind of what he preferred to play, and I actually, when I played it, it feels more natural for me to play it this way, but he kind of just changes a little bit. So when he comes out of that, so he kind of does a lot of, and then a little stutters on that A. I'll play a little bit of it just slowly. That's the first fill. So you'll hear a lot of times just some downstrokes on that A. But then he'll do a little gallop in between, like that. And it kind of changes each pass through that he does. So that's more of the live version. I'd recommend listening to both of them, and just, I prefer kind of how Randy played it live. It just feels a little more natural. versus the, you know, just, which that's fine too if that's how you want to approach it. That's how the studio version is. So the very first fill that we have is this. Okay, so he'll play that rhythm a couple times through. So all we're doing there is we're playing here on the 4th fret of the G, and you're doing a pull off. So you're only going to pluck this string one time. You're going to pull off from 4 to 2 to open. So it's, and then you're going to do the same thing here on the D string. That's going to be 4, 2, open. And then here on the A string, same thing, 4, 2, O. And then right out of that, back into that rhythm. So pretty much that's all the rhythm until the last pass through. We do a so I guess that would maybe be considered right, maybe a pre-chorus. So it's a so first you do an open A, so you're this is basically an A5 chord. So when you grab that, that's going to be 7th fret and 7th fret of the D, 9th fret of the G. You want to let that chord kind of trail out. Then you're going to do the same thing here on the E5, which is going to be 7 of the A, 9th of the D. So, and we come back up here after we trail off of that, we do, it's going to be 2nd fret of the low E to that D5 that we learned earlier, which is open D, and 2nd fret of the G. That's going to be 2nd of the E, 4th of the E. So do a little play through on this part. Okay, so we're here, we're starting with an F sharp 5 power chord. So we do so I've got my first finger here on the 2nd fret of the low E, third finger's on the 4th fret of the A string. We're playing those two notes together. Then we lift up that first finger. Then we do a so that D, that's going to be open D, 2nd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B, and then we do a, here's the harmonic. It's going to be here on the 7th fret of the D and G string. So when you play that, you're not, you know, normally we would play in between the frets if we wanted to play a note. This, we're actually just laying our finger across the string right on the 7th fret, just barely touching and doing a, creates like a chime type effect, and then you hit your whammy bar, and then we go back in again. Same thing, but we do this. That's going to be open D, play the same note again here on the 5th fret of the A, 4, 2 to an A5. Then we do a 4, 2 to an E5, so that's 4 on the low E, 2 on the low E, and then here, so we have come back and play 2 of the low E to the 4th of the low E, and we go. We play that similar riff we just learned. You're just doing a. So basically all I'm doing is just lifting up my first finger here. So I play that F sharp 5 chord, and then I lift up my finger here and just play the low E. And now once you do that, you're going to lay your finger again right over that 2nd fret of the low E and A string, and get that harmonic sound there. Learn those chords early, that the D, big E chord. Now, let's go over the fill that's in there. So I'm going to play through a little bit on this. So, here comes the fill. So this is all going to be based around the F sharp minor pentatonic. So the first part's going to be a bend, small bend here on the 4th fret of the G, and then you're going to bar your first finger across the 2nd fret of the B and high E, and then you're going to do this. And that's going to be pull off from 5 to 2 on the B and to 3 to 2. So we start 5 to 2 and then 3 to 2. And then we do a 5 on the G to the 2nd of the B, and then we do another pull off, and that's going to be 5, 4, 2. Now from here we're going to do a 4th on the D to the 2nd fret of the G, and then come back to the 4th and pull off to the 2nd. This part it's real similar, except we're going to shift everything up here to the A. So this is going to be 4, 2nd fret of the D, back to the 4 of the A, but you're doing this a little pull off here. It's going to be 4, 3, 2. And you're going to pull off to the open A, and then you're going to do this. Hammer back onto the 2nd fret of the A, and then you do a trill. So then we come back out. So again, I'm going to do a little playthrough. So we'll do a same thing again, same lick here, all that's the same, but this is the lick. Do that again. Now, when this was a hard lick to, so really this is the challenging part of Crazy Train, is weaving in and out of these rhythms and adding these fills. That was really the brilliance of Randy Rhoads. He just played it so, executed it so well, and just made everything fit so nicely. So what you're doing, you're basically just doing a climb all the way up the neck. So in your, basically this is going to be what the shape is going to look like. So we got a 7th fret of the B, and you're going to play that, and then you're going to have your pinky finger here on the 9th fret of the high E, and you're going to pull off to the 5th fret, and you're just going to play that all the way down 1 fret at a time. And then you come back out of that. Now, for me, the way this worked, it just helped me to be able to count. I was having a really hard time to get the timing, so I would count it in 3s. So it's almost like I would accent each one. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that helped me. I'm not sure if it'll help you or not. But basically, all you're doing, you're playing this exact same lick, and then you're moving it down 1 fret. 1 fret down, or up, depending on how you look at it. And then right around the time your middle finger gets here to the 15th or 16th fret of the B, you're going to come back out of that and just let your finger just kind of slide across the low E. Okay, so this will be the bridge right before the solo, and now it's different, you know, than on the tribute version, you know, versus the studio version. The studio version is like a... The live version is a... You hold all that out. So it's real similar, all the same chords, just approached a little differently. So I'm going to show you the studio version, and we'll talk about the chords first. We're doing that F sharp 5 chord, so we do, and you're just going to you're going to slide that chord out. Then we do a A5. That's 4, 2, E5. And then when you come back here and do a 4, open E. Then we do that's going to be a D5, an E5, and this will be an F sharp 5. So that's going to be 5th fret of the A, 7th fret of the D, 7th fret of the A, 9th fret of the D, and then 9th fret of the A, 11th fret of the D. So it's just a... He's just kind of in between, just hitting those, you know, kind of those pick scrapes. Now on the live version, you could do you could just let that ring. So it goes back again. Now after that second pass through, we go all the way down here to the F sharp 5, and then we go to the D, and then the E, and then that's where the guitar solo will start. Okay, the guitar solo is going to be in part 2, so we're going to keep going along with the rhythm part. So after the guitar solo, so once the guitar solo is over with, we go back into... Now the third verse, pretty much the same thing, except we've got that, you know, a new guitar fill into that, right into that chorus part. We'll go over that, but the rhythm is pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is Randy will do this on the studio version. So every other time he'll grab that G note on the low E. Okay, so we're getting ready to go into that final, this will be, I believe, the 4th guitar fill at the end of the 3rd verse. So we go what we learned already. We do this instead. Different harmonic there. Everything we did before was at the 7th fret. This is going to be 4th fret of the D. So you're barely laying your finger across that 4th fret of the D and get that. And then you're going to bring your 2nd finger and barely lay it across the 5th fret of the G, B, high E. And so and then go back into same before. come down here and play this. So basically, this is such a hard lick. I have such a tough time for this one, so it took me forever to get this down. So basically, you're doing another climb. It's going to start here on the 16th fret of the G string. So we do a, and you're going to be basically anchoring your first finger here on the 14th fret of the B. You're hitting these two strings together, and you're going to again flatten that first finger out so you can get that. And that's going to be 14th fret of the high E, and then a pull off from 17 to 14. So and you're just going to do that same thing kind of like you did on that second fill where you climb down. You're playing the same lick all the way down. So by the time you get down here, this is 19, 20, around the 20th, 21st fret, you're going to, you know, that's going to be the last time you play that lick, and you're going to come back out of it and then do the. Now on the studio version. Same as we did in that bridge right before the guitar solo. And it just fades out. So that is all the rhythm guitar parts for Crazy Train and the guitar fills. So I will have part 2, which will be the guitar solo, coming up soon. Thanks, guys.